you have a look at monash.edu/education and you go to current students and then you go to course and unit advice, you can get the course maps for DoTS. So click on course maps. You've enrolled in 2016, so you click on that. Okay, and these are the Diploma of Tertiary Studies maps. Make sure you click on the Berwick ones and not the Peninsula ones. So Education Stream Berwick. This is your map. So at Berwick we have two different specialisations. We have early years and primary. Just make that a bit bigger for you. Early years and primary, and then primary and secondary education. You decide which one you're going to be in. It's up to you. If you decide to do early years and primary, this is what your course map will look like. You have 5 units in the first semester and 5 units in the second semester. You only get one choice, and that's here, and it's not really a choice because if you haven't met the entry requirements for maths, then you have to do the maths unit. If you have, then you'll be in the knowledge and context unit. If we want to compare this with if we want to compare this with the map for students who are not in the DoTS program but who are doing the early years and primary education program, then go back to the course maps for the current students, back to 2016, and if you look down here, early years and primary education, there it is. Okay, this is the whole map for early years and primary education, the whole 4 years. So we're just looking at the first year here. So if you look at this one, you can see that you're doing all these units here, the first 8, but you're missing out on these 2. So these 2 are replaced with the DoTS units. You don't have to catch up if you go on to second year. The ones that you're doing for the DoTS program will count as credit, so you don't need to worry about that. So that 1038 and 1039, the other students who are doing early years and primary education will be doing those, but as a DoTS student you won't be doing those. And then if you make it into second year, the rest of your map will be exactly the same. Okay, if you are doing the other specialisation, which is primary and secondary education, again you need to do 10 units. You don't get a lot of choice here. Again, if you're doing, if you need to do the maths for tertiary study because you didn't have the requirements to get into the course, then you'll have to do that. Otherwise, you'll be doing knowledge and context. And here you have 2 discipline units. So because this is for secondary education, people doing secondary education have to choose 2 disciplines that they want to specialise in. Let me just show you the map for primary and secondary education for the students who are not doing the Diploma of Tertiary Studies. Primary and secondary education. Okay, let's zoom in. Okay, you can see from this that there is one discipline that you have 6 units in and one discipline that you have 4 units in. Because you're doing the Diploma of Tertiary Studies and you need to do the 2 Diploma of Tertiary Studies units, you miss out on 2 of these discipline units. And that means that you can only choose disciplines that can be completed in 4 units. So when you're choosing which discipline to do, it sometimes tells you there's a minor sequence or a major sequence. A minor sequence is usually 4, a major sequence is more than 4. So you need to check whether you can actually do your discipline that you've decided you wanted to do. But otherwise, the rest of it is exactly the same for this particular course. All right, you can also see for both of these that it says here, students who satisfactorily complete the Diploma of Tertiary Studies education stream with a minimum average mark of 60% in the course will receive a guaranteed place and an offer from Monash into the Bachelor of Education Honours specialisation corresponding to their chosen option. So you need a 60% average. That means for all the units you complete in that year, all 10 units, the average mark has to be 60. It doesn't mean 60% for each assignment. It doesn't mean you need 60% in each unit. It means overall you have an average of 60%. And you can only go into this specialisation. You can't change to a different specialisation, and it's exactly the same with the other one. Okay, this is the same requirements for this one. When you are trying to decide which discipline you want to do, if you're doing the primary and secondary, you can have a look here at the discipline study guide. And it will tell you here some of the things you can do. See how it says a minor sequence here? That means it's 4. So most of them are 4, but there are some that are more than 4. So you can look through there. You need to do 2 first year units and 2 second year units. Forget this column at the end, that's not you. You will be choosing for this year 2 units that start with a 1, EDF 1 something. Well, it might not be EDF, it depends what discipline you're doing. So these units here, the discipline units, are not education units, they're units in other faculties. Okay. So for example, if I wanted to do chemistry, I've got 2 choices. I could do 2 units in chemistry, or I could do 2 first year and 2 second year units in chemistry, or 2 first year and 2 second year units in biochemistry. So I click on here, this takes me to the chemistry handbook. So we're not in education anymore. Okay, and here is a level 1 science sequence. So you could do, for example, 1011 and 1022. And then in second year, some of these. But you do need to check for each of these to see if they have any prerequisites. So for example, prerequisites. You can't do this particular unit, CHM 2911, you can't do that unless you've already done this one, or this one, and this one, or this one. So if you've done the 1011 and 1022 in your first year, then you could do this in your second year. So you do need to be a bit careful about that. If you don't get 60% average, but you do pass all 10 units, then you can still graduate with the Diploma of Tertiary Studies, but you won't get direct entry into second year. If you do get a 60% average, then in order to get direct entry, you need to fill out an internal transfer form. Here's the form, internal course transfer form. And you can see here that it says here, Diploma of Tertiary Studies students who are required to use this form to apply for their degree course. So this is you. You'd have to fill in this form. I'll give you more information on this later in the year. The closing dates are here. You'll see that it's not actually due until the 17th of October. So we'll talk about this more in semester 2. And I'll show you how to fill out the form. It's not hard to do. Just make sure you do get it in before the 17th of October. You won't actually have your results when you fill this in, so you have to make a good guess about whether you think you're going to get in, but why not apply? Okay. Also, if you don't get 60%, you also have the opportunity to reapply for the course through VTAC. This means you're reapplying for the Bachelor of Education first year, and all the units that you have passed after you've enrolled will be credited to you, so you don't have to repeat them again. So you still enroll as a first year student, but if you only failed 1 unit, or if you passed them all but you just didn't get 60%, you don't have to repeat anything that you have already passed. But the difference is, if you do get over 60% and you fill in the course transfer form, you're guaranteed entry into the degree. If you don't get a 60% and you apply through VTAC, then you're not guaranteed to get in. Early years and primary students, you will be going on 5 days of professional experience in the first semester and 5 in the second semester. Students who are doing their primary and secondary education, you do field work. You have to do 10 days in the first semester and 10 days in the second semester. Now you'll note that it says on here 0 points, but you still have to pass it. Okay, if you do not pass these, you cannot go on to second year and you will not get a Diploma of Tertiary Studies. Okay, so they're very important, make sure they get done. Sometimes students say, oh, it was 0 points, so I didn't think it was important. It's important. You must pass all of these units and you must get an average of 60%. If you have any more questions, please post them here and I'll see if I can answer them. Bye.